Look, I know markets feel messy right now. Mixed signals, shifting narratives, lots of noise. And it's easy to feel lost or overwhelmed. Yeah, I get it, but it doesn't have to be that way. That's exactly why we've simplified the Real Vision membership tiers to cut through that noise and give you clarity, support and insights precisely when you need them the most, in the way you need them. And remember, to make it easier, we're giving you 3 months free when you upgrade to any annual Real Vision membership. That's 3 months free for just upgrading, whether you're just starting out or stepping up to the next level. You'll also access our exclusive Trade Ideas competition, where you can share your smartest ideas with the Real Vision community. And tell me, it's a real hoot and it's really good and so much alpha there. Plus, there's an opportunity to win some great prizes in that too. This isn't just about smarter investing, it's about investing without all of the stress. Head over to realvision.com/3 months free and lock in your upgrade before it's too late. At this point in the cycle, every day counts. So hopefully we'll see you taking advantage of this offer. Thanks. So here we are at Token 2049. It really is one of the most energetic, incredible events. Speakers from all around the world and visitors from every country you can ever imagine, all trying to learn something together, something new, this exciting world of crypto and technology. It's where you go and make friends, lifelong friends. And what's so nice is to see people with big smiles on their faces, happy to be here and happy to be together. So hopefully see you next time in Singapore. Real Vision will be there. I look forward to seeing you all.
Happy Wednesday, happy hump day, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Trading the Markets. I'm Bijan Maleki, and of course, I'm joined by Kris Bullock, aka Blastoplast. So guys, we just announced some very exciting news. We have a partnership with SWE. So make sure you go check that out. We have a video live on the platform. You can hear directly from Rao and the managing director of the SWE Foundation, Christian Thompson, talk through what that looks like for SWE, what that looks like for Real Vision, and what that looks like for you. So definitely recommend that. Super exciting, super bullish. And also, with that, right now, you can lock in 12 months free of Real Vision for the price of 9 months. So that's 3 months free when you upgrade to an annual membership. So check that out at realvision.com/3, the number 3 months free. You can check the link right there and use the QR code to go and get that great deal. And with that, you'll also be able to enter trades because we have a trading competition that is live and in full swing. Ideas are rolling in. Some of them are smart. Some of them are pretty degen, which we'll talk about a few of those today as well. So if you got something that you think has some upside, now's the time to put that in. You can up for grabs on the giveaways and the prizes. You can have a private chat with Rao, get some alpha straight from the man himself. You get some RV swag merch And we have a few other surprises that haven't been announced, but I'm sure you guys will definitely like that. And Kris is here. He's had a busy day already. He's fresh off of a fantastic TA episode with Caleb Franzen. So make sure you check that out as well if you haven't already. Go check that out right after this show. You'll need to be a Pro RV Pro member, but so maybe that's a great time to take advantage of that new promotion and watch that video. It was a great chat. It was like you were just like a fly on the wall of just two great TA guys discussing charts. So definitely recommend you check that out. Quick reminder as well, we discuss this stuff all day, every day in our Discord. So make sure you join the RV Discord if you want to continue the chat and stress test some of your ideas and get all these insights. And to watch our live weekly trading shows on Monday, you need to be an RV Connect member. So another great reason to take advantage of those ongoing promotions. So as always, if you have any questions, just drop them into the live chat on X, on platform, and we'll try and take as many of them as we can live on air. And Kris, how are you? Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, doing well, thank you. It's been a fun week. We had the bottom is in. Great show on Monday, and things have kind of been pretty exciting since then, and I think are going to continue to be. So, yeah, I wanted to start with Bitcoin and just sort of break down what happened since our last Wednesday show, and go from there, basically. So, starting with Bitcoin, if we remember, last Wednesday we were right here on this candle, right in this range of support. And I remember saying at that time, the ranges I was looking at are this, in fact, range right here where we were. And then I wanted to highlight the 100,000 range because I called that out because, again, humans are funny and they like to buy it at round numbers like that. And then worst case scenario, we were looking down here at this other cluster. And right after that show, the very next day, we had the big Twitter X battle with Trump and Elon. And of course, the markets went crazy and everything nuked. And we got almost a perfect touch down here on the 100,000 level. In fact, it got down to 100,377. So not quite even on the dot at 100,000, but it was the perfect place to bounce. And as it was happening, I was like, you know what? I bet this is it. I bet this is the cycle low right here. This is what we're looking for. And I actually put in a buy order on hype in that moment when it touched the 20-day moving average, which I can get to later. But anyway, just as I was expecting. Since then, we've had a strong rally out, and we are, right back up to right near all-time highs again. And I think that it's going to keep going for some weeks from now. So things are looking good on the Bitcoin front. Things are looking good on the equities front. On our Monday show, I talked about, some of the other majors like Ethereum and SWI and Sol need to really be, getting in gear at this point and proving that they are relevant and are going to be relevant for the next 6 months. And so far, so good. We're actually seeing pretty strong movements from, let's see, let's look at these against Bitcoin. Ethereum is actually holding up the best, surprisingly. Well, not totally surprisingly. Ethereum actually is coming off the back of, we had some really good announcements earlier this week from the SEC talking about DeFi and I think Ethereum stands to be a major beneficiary of that. Like just really sort of relaxed regulatory approach to DeFi, which is a very welcome development. And since Ethereum is largely the hub of, well, at least all the biggest DeFi, the big blue chip DeFi, your Aves and your compound finance and things like that, those are going to do well, and those are all on ETH. And so good for ETH. Not to mention the upgrades that ETH had. And so we can see here, ETH actually never really corrected as much as some of the other bigger assets did, and has since then, had just had nice big green candles and has gone up the most out of those three between Ethereum, Solana, and SWI over the last few days, and looks really strong right now. Is actually outpacing Bitcoin. This is actually the ETH Bitcoin chart, and we've been talking about how we need to see a strong reversal on the ETH Bitcoin chart to really benefit the broader alt market. And granted, it's baby steps here. We're looking at a daily chart, and we're just barely over the bull market support band. But it's still an uptrend. It's still a step in the right direction. And so I like what I'm seeing here with this. And honestly, the same thing with Solana and SWI. Granted, they're a little bit worse off, but they're doing what they need to do. We've got solid green candles again against Bitcoin So it's outpacing Bitcoin out of the lows of this new cycle that we're in, coming off of the lows from last Thursday. So we've got several green candles in a row against Bitcoin. That's what we need to see. We need to see, and same thing with SWI here. Good green candles in a row. Both of them are getting kind of right back to their 20-day moving average, and on pace to reverse the downtrend, both on the daily time frame and hopefully on the weekly time frame against Bitcoin, and reach these new highs that we all think that they can do. And so so far so good with kind of the big three, the big sort of majors that we all talk about on our shows and in our community a lot. And I like what I'm seeing here. So I think that this is going to play out across the broader market, which we're seeing a lot of. We're seeing memes run, we're seeing AI run right now. We're seeing the majors do well. So we're seeing Bitcoin do well, obviously. So again, it's kind of, as I talked about on my show with Caleb a bit ago, we're in easy mode right now, and it's kind of the time to just take a step back and watch things go. So it's good times.
That's easier said than done. So guys, don't use this as an opportunity to start chasing like everything that runs. You've been following us. You've been building some really nice positions. And not so much has changed, right? If you've been following us, you should have maybe some SPX in your portfolio, should have some hype in there, as well as SWI and Solana. So I think now is, like Kris just said, now is the time to enjoy the fruits of your labor and know that your patience is paying off. Because Kris, you also touched on that 60-day cycle, not touched on, you really dove into that 60-day cycle that we just started and looking out. And it looks very bullish, right? So, hey, green candles ahead, and let's hope it continues that way. So at the top of this show, you also mentioned how you executed a really great trade on Hyperliquid, how it touched that the 20-day, I believe it was, right? And you had an order that just filled right perfectly on that line. So can you talk us through that and kind of what you saw in that trade?
Yeah. So as is often, it comes up in our shows. People ask, where's my entry? How do I know when to buy? How do I know when to buy the dip on anything? And when you're in an uptrend, especially like a raging, kind of big uptrend like hype is doing right now, that can sometimes be tricky because sometimes you are waiting for the dip and it just keeps going, And so what I tell people is really anytime you can get a touch on ideally the 20-day moving average, but sometimes you don't get that. Sometimes if it's a really, really strong uptrend, you might just get a touch on the 10-day, which is this green line here. But if you can get a touch on the 20-day moving average, that's almost always a great time to buy. And so this was last Thursday, that same day I talked about, with the Trump and the Elon battle going on. And I was watching this on the daily chart and I was like, you know what? I bet this is going to come down and touch perfectly on this 20-day moving average. Let me kind of zoom in here. And so I went, and I was looking to pick some up. So I went and set an order. And, right at where the 20-day moving average was, I think it was at 32.74 is what I actually, that's where right at where the average was in that moment. And so I set it at 32.74, and it filled perfectly. It just wicked down perfectly, bounced right there, and immediately shot right back up. And now, granted, the next day it did come back down a little bit more, but it never got back down as low as the 32.74. It came down and touched the moving average once again, but already the average was higher at that point. So, it only got down to whatever, 33.25 or something like that. And then since then, it's just been off to the races. And in fact, yesterday and today, it has, if we kind of zoom out here, you can see it's entered price discovery. It eclipsed its all-time high yesterday, and back from this previous level here, or I'm sorry, from here, and we're in new uncharted territory basically with hype, and I think we've got a long way to go still with this one. So I'm pretty happy with my order. Obviously, I would have loved to have gotten it much further down, but I kind of missed the boat. I sort of missed the hype, even though I was watching it play out right in front of me on social media. I just wasn't quite there yet. And so I figured I needed to get in, and I knew we were in a bit of a sideways market with the cycle correction happening. So I kind of just picked my shot and I went with it. And, so far it's up probably a good 20% already just in the last, 5 days. So far so good.
Yeah. And what do you say to the people that, have feel some type of way about buying in a situation where a coin is just in price discovery mode and just seemingly hitting all-time high after all-time high. I know we touched on this on Monday as well about how I think that's, as long as there's still friction to something, there's still a lot of upside to be had, because the masses, it's not so easy for them to buy. And hype is that, right?
Right.
There's a few extra steps that you have to take to buy. You can't just go and, make an exchange on, pump.fun or Radium or whatever,
Right.
Jupiter. You can't just buy it on Coinbase. You have to go through a little bit of a process. But I think within that friction, that also tells you that there's still a lot of upside, because it's not super easy to buy just yet.
Totally agree. Yeah, you do got to jump through a few hoops. There is a bit of a learning curve, and but I still recommend go learn how to do it, because that's part of why we're all here, is to actually use the technology, not just like buy the tokens and trade the tokens and stuff like that. And hype is a perfect example of amazing blockchain technology. This is exactly where it really excels, and it's cool. It's cool to use, and it's a very innovative platform. We've seen other perp dexes and we've seen other things that are similar, but I feel like hype just somehow brought it all together in like a really clever way. And they're basically competing with the likes of Coinbase and Binance, and they're offering a fully centralized exchange experience on a decentralized, on blockchain rails, basically. And they're doing a good job of it. And as a business, they're extremely successful right now. And so I'm really bullish on this asset. I think that even as high as the price is right now, even though it is in price discovery, it is highly undervalued even right now in this moment. And so, when you see that, people will see, oh, I kind of missed it, or I don't want to get in while it's up 15% on the day or whatever. And in many, many cases, I would say absolutely don't get in. You missed it. It's going to correct. You learn early on, don't chase anything that's up 20% or whatever, because you're immediately going to be upside down. And most of the time that's true. But there are certain times in the market cycles where that rule doesn't apply as much. And sometimes you just have to kind of grab the leash and hold on tight and join the ride, basically. And I think right now we're in that. We're in the start of, like you just said, a new kind of 60-day cycle timing window, and we potentially have, I think a good solid month of upside to go, if not even more. And I think hype is going to be much higher in a month from now. And so sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and jump on. And occasionally you'll do that, and you might end up being upside down for a day or two because somebody sold right after you bought. But like oftentimes it's very short-lived, and sometimes those rallies, sometimes you can get very overbought conditions on a crypto asset that goes for weeks or even more than a month, where it's blowing up way outside the top of the Bollinger Bands. The RSI is sky high, well up into the 80s, even 90s for again, weeks in a row. And that's kind of how crypto does it. And so you can't apply these general rules of thumb to these types of scenarios in crypto sometimes. You have to just go with it.
Yeah, to kind of put a bow on this hype stuff, I want to shout out Rabbit, a member in our Discord, that commented as we were talking about hype and on our Monday show, that hype is like a real company that's actually making money, and they're using
Yeah.
that money to buy back their token. So, I mean, that's also really bullish just for the hype token in general, beyond the fact that it's just nice technology that I think, yeah, we talk about Web3 tech, we talk about decentralization and having utility and using something. Well, now is our opportunity. So go check it out, even if you don't put everything that you can into it, right? And we never recommend doing that, but at least get familiar with the technology, because it is the new stuff, and got to know how to use this stuff if we want this to really take off. So awesome. So I
Absolutely.
have a trade that I want to shout out as well. I'm going to talk about rekt. And this trade, you can extrapolate this to their entire ecosystem if you want, whether that be rekt coin and whether that be the rekt guy NFT. So really good input from Magma Pirate on this trade last week. cites that rekt drinks sold out in record time, so they beat their previous sellout time in their most recent drop of rekt drinks. So they have a viable product, right? And the rekt guys, OSF and Mando, are, they're just obviously super smart guys that are great at capturing attention on the timeline. And this is all going to go back into the rekt ecosystem, and it's ultimately going to benefit the native rekt token and the rekt guy NFT. So I think if you want to kind of see how a community is built, right, and you want some exposure to that, and you want to bet on kind of Web3 communities kind of rising and creating something, I feel like rekt guy is as good as any to put your bet on, right? And then to another extent, I want to also include Pengu in this as well. Pengu token is reaching $1 billion market cap. It's getting up there. It's doing pretty well. And, it's kind of that same, it's obviously they're doing different things to rekt guy, but it's very common thread between the two, in that they're building it with and on the back of their community that have very active communities that they're also building this with. So with the Pengu, you can get Pengu, you can get Pudgy Penguin, you can get the little Pudgies, and just have all access to their ecosystem in some form or another. I think these communities are going to be pretty big. So if you're like me, you want some type of exposure to them, and you might not be able to shell out for a rekt guy or, even a Pudgy Penguin, which is, like over 10 ETH at this point almost. So these are good ways to bet on an ecosystem and have some exposure and benefit off of their growth and the work that their great founders are doing. So that's going to be my shout out as well. Oh yeah, an abstract chain, right? On with the Pudgy Penguins that they're building. Just a lot of bullish things going on with community in general. And if you've been hearing Rao talk, community is Web3, right? And that's kind of the way things are going. So, hey, why not back some strong ones?
I wanted to touch on the rekt chart while we're at it, because it's looking really good right now. So from the lows back in March, when a lot of the memes reversed, it's up 10x. It's up 10x already. And that's fantastic. Great. It's a little bit of it's a lower market cap than some of the other memes, so it's kind of flying under the radar. But 10x is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, that's amazing. More importantly, though, is not only is it up 10x, but it's basically setting new all-time highs right now. It sort of broke out from its previous all-time high. It had set it back here, touched it again here, and now we've got a proper breakout from this level. So it's in price discovery as well, and good stuff. I mean,
great trade, Magma Pirate. Kris, so we have some questions to get to. Shall we dive into some of them?
Sure.
All right, so this first one comes from Clyde on the RV website. Kris, any recommended technical indicators for adding to SPX? Think you've said the 10-day moving average before, but I guess it's easy to get a bit of FOMO when it's going ballistic like this.
Well, it's funny. Like, this is a perfect example of one of those where I'm like, you just gotta grab it and ride it, because not saying it's going to do this, but I just want to point out that the last time it started closing multiple days, above the Bollinger Bands here, one, it set all-time highs here, but two, it went on this 100x run, basically. Not saying it's going to go do a 100x run, as much as I would love that. I'm not saying it's going to go do a 100x run tomorrow, or that this is the start of that necessarily. But my point being, you don't know when it's ultimately going to slow down, and if you sit here and wait for it to actually slow down and come back and touch a moving average or something, it might be 3 weeks from now, and it might be up 400% from now. And so that's why when it starts doing stuff like this, when it really starts going and taking off, you kind of just got to bite the bullet and get on, because that's just how it works. So outside of that, there's a couple other things I want to point out here. Yes, we are right at, you could argue this is resistance. So this is the all-time high level that was set back here in January at 177. We got pretty close to it today. We got up to 174 already today, and we're at 170 right now. So it's knocking on the door of breaking out. Now, if we go back and look at like earlier SPX, back in its first initial runs, it had set, its initial all-time high here, kind of came back at this point, didn't quite get up to it. But if we notice when it actually did break out, on the days that it did break out, it did get up to this. It kind of wicked above it, got rejected, had to come back down, kind of catch its breath a little bit, and then finally it broke out and went on from there. So, and that's a pretty common pattern that you see play out in a lot of technical analysis. A lot of charts do this. It might take a minute or a candle or two to ultimately break through the resistance. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that here. I wouldn't even be surprised if we got a red candle tomorrow, or a little bit wick above here today and then a red candle tomorrow, before ultimately breaking out. But also it might not do that. Also, it could just barrel right through it, and by tomorrow we're sitting at 185 or something like that. We don't know, but we do know that volume is picking up. Everything is strong. Social volume is looking really good with this. Social media volume, I should say. And it's just really got the wind in its sails. I mean, it's just really, really it's outpacing everything right now. Literally, like if you go, I've got a chart here that sort of has the whole entire market broken down in USD and Bitcoin terms. And in the last 30 days, it's outpacing the whole market. In the last 7 days rather, in the last 24 hours, and in the last hour. It's literally leading everything. And I'm not talking like it's just leading memes or it's just leading altcoins. It's leading everything. It's like leading the entire crypto asset space. And so don't fade that, basically. You have to just ride the momentum.
Don't fade it, Clyde. Funny story. Kris and I were just chatting a little bit offline before we came on air. And I was saying, I think when all's said and done with this meme craze, I think SPX is going to fall somewhere between like $8 and $11. Kris told me I wasn't bullish enough. So yeah. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, so we have another question from Jonathan. So it looks like Jonathan is trying to get some insight to win this trading competition that we have going on right now, which, by the way, go ahead and enter your trades, swing for the fences, and try and win this one because we have some great prizes. But anyway, Kris, Lo-Fi versus Fartcoin for the June trade competition. Who you got?
Boy, right now today, I'd have to go with Fartcoin. And this is one I wanted to touch on too. So I know in previous shows, I was a little bit bearish on it because we had been seeing these, bearish divergences in the RSI, like as price was continuing to go up, the RSI was setting lower highs and lower lows, and the moving average had rolled over. And if you look here, we've actually had a reversal of that pattern. We've had the RSI reverse back up. We've had the moving average on the RSI reverse back up. It's well on its way to setting a higher high. And then, of course, if you look at price, it came down and perfectly touched its bull market support band, which is effectively the 21-week EMA here in this case, and has reversed sharply and is back up in the upper half of the bands. The 10 and the 20-day moving average are about to cross back over. So I would say the uptrend is back on with Fartcoin. Granted, I'd like to see a little bit more volume going on here, but I think that it's doing well, and I don't think that it's done. I don't think it's cooked. Whereas Lo-Fi, if you look, Lo-Fi is not doing quite as well. It's kind of just flat. It's meandering sideways. Yeah, it's had some good days coming out of the lows, but it just isn't showing the strength that Fartcoin is. It's like it's good, but it's not as good, is what I'll say. And so my money's on Fartcoin between those two.
Yeah. I think another thing to think about with memes, Kris, you said this offline as well. I've also, I've seen this kind of line of thinking. It's not about how great you think the meme is. It's about how much you think others will think the meme is. And I will even take it a step further, kind of like an inception, within this, within that. But it's also what you think the rest of crypto Twitter thinks that the normies are going to like as well. Because truth is, not all the normies, mass retail, mass adoption hasn't really come so much yet right into memes. So kind of it's like this little PvP game that we're all playing amongst ourselves in crypto Twitter with people that are buying these meme coins, trying to think what we think each other are going to think about what the masses think is going to be that coin. And honestly, I think it's Fartcoin is one of them, right? It's very easy meme to understand. It's childish, right? And it has a lot of traction already. And it's on Solana too, which has just a more eyeballs on it than Sui at this point.
You could say that the right curve people put their money where they think the left curve people are going to put their money, and the mid curve people are all on crypto Twitter laughing at everybody and not putting their money anywhere.
Pick a side, guys, right? Okay, so we have another one from Benedict on the RV website. Kris, what's your view of Doge and AVAX?
Good question. Let's see. I haven't looked at Doge in a hot minute here, so what do we got? To me, it's funny. Like, I wanted to see a little more from Doge, I guess with Elon, although now that he's on the outs with the White House, we might not get what we were hoping for there. But I was hoping that, back towards the election time, well, we got this basically. Doge blew up because basically Elon was, he was the president for a minute anyway. But then it's kind of bled out since then. And I don't know. It's funny with Doge because it is really so closely tied to Elon, like it or not. It just kind of is what it is. And so I don't know. The funny thing though, what I will say about Doge, let me pull up like a Doge Bitcoin chart. Is well, that doesn't look great either. I was going to say, I don't know about Doge right now. I was a little bit surprised to see it give all of this back against Bitcoin. We had the big run up again, and it's literally back right down to where it was before anything happened. It's as if this rally never even took place, and that's not a great sign either. So I don't feel like I wouldn't be in Doge. I feel like there's other newer memes. To me, Doge is obviously kind of the OG meme coin. And it's certainly had its hype cycle or several hype cycles. And I think it will continue to. It'll continue to be okay. But if we're looking at, immediate good returns on memes right now, SPX, Fartcoin, I mean, even well, it's funny. There's so many memes right now that are going crazy. But Lo-Fi, Giga's doing really well right now too. Yeah. So I think there's better places to have it. What was the other one? The other token?
Yeah. I'll also say too, Dogecoin is number 8 on market in terms of market cap rank. So
Yes.
Realistically, how much more is it going to run, right? I mean, have some for the culture, right? Doge is hilarious. It's part of it's embedded in our Web3 culture. So maybe hold a little small bag for the culture. But, like Kris was saying, there's just so many other better memes to have in right now that you can capture so much more upside on that I think is just not the opportunity cost of holding Doge just is not worth it in such large.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. Like, there's no Doge isn't going to do a 10x from here. It's not even going to do a 5x from here. That's just like not a thing. And so there's better, like you said, there's better places, there's better bets as far as memes go right now.
Yeah, like Doge is not flipping Solana. I mean, you can tape this, and if I'm wrong, just play it, right? But it's just not. And even if it does, like, that's not enough for me, at least for a meme coin. So I'm just gonna leave it there. The other one was AVAX.
Oh, AVAX, yeah. AVAX is interesting. Let's look at AVAX actually, and I'll start with BTC pair. Oh, here it is. So it's been going down against BTC really well for this entire 4-year cycle, kind of going back to January of 23. Roundabout here. It did have a big run at the end of 2023 going into 2024, but then it continued to bleed out again. It's funny with AVAX. I like AVAX. I think it's a good blockchain. I do think that there's good fundamentals going on there, and there's always interesting potential developments that could reverse it, but you have to just kind of go with where the market is right now. You have to play the game that's being played, that's been my common refrain lately. And right now, AVAX isn't part of that game. That's not to say that AVAX is a bad project. It's absolutely not. But right now, just the market isn't gravitating towards it. It's just you're far better off holding Bitcoin right now than holding AVAX is really the bottom line. And so that might change. That might change at some point even in the not too distant future. If we get a broader based alt cycle, if Ethereum managed to reverse its downtrend against Bitcoin, and we start to see some of that money flowing into the rest of the alt market, I do think that AVAX can and would be a beneficiary of that. But you could argue like a number of things need to happen before that actually takes place. And so between now and then, it could continue to bleed out for some time. And just put your money in Bitcoin until that happens, basically.
Well said. Okay, last question comes from Jordan on the RV website. Could Sweet pull a hype and be a competitor of Coinbase and such, since they have Cetus and Deep?
Well, they're different things. I mean, Hyperliquid is the platform itself. Yes, it has an L1 kind of connected to it, the Hype EVM L1, where you can store assets and maybe a sort of a third-party a DeFi ecosystem will develop there. Likely it will, and there will be a market where you can do stuff on the Hype EVM. But really, Hyperliquid is the product right now, and it's front and center. Whereas with Sui is basically just a layer one. Yes, there are other third-party projects, like you said, like Cetus, that are part of that ecosystem, that DeFi ecosystem. But the Sui project isn't directly benefiting from the transaction fees and all the money that's being generated from those dApps the same way Hyperliquid is. Like Hyperliquid is the project, and that's where all the action is taking place. Whereas with Sui, Cetus is just one of many, many dApps that are running, protocols that are running on its layer one. And it's focused on all kinds of things outside of that too. It's focused on gaming, it's focused on social media, it's focused on, all kinds of stuff. So the DeFi ecosystem is only going to be a small portion of what's going on Sui. So it's not really an apples to apples comparison. That said, I think they both can and will probably do well, and they are doing well, but in large part due to the fact just that they're both, there's a lot of speculative hype, no pun intended, with both of these projects right now. And so they're going up because more people keep buying it, and more people keep buying it because they're going up, So that's what's driving the price of both of those projects right now. Now, yes, there are some fundamentals that do come into play, but yeah, again, I don't think it's an apples to apples comparison, and they're both very similar market caps right now. I think they're neck and neck with each other in the rankings, like 10 and 11, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. Yeah, they both probably have, as good of a chance of, in terms of upside, I would say. Yeah, they're kind of right there. They're very, very equal, very competitive, even though, again, they're not the same thing exactly. But I think their potential is very similar. Their upside is similar, and their place within the broader crypto ecosystem is also similar in a way, And so it's hard to pick between those two. Personally, right now, I have my money on Hype, but I wouldn't fade Sui either. I think it's right there. It deserves all the consideration too. So
yeah. Well said. And Jordan, to kind of make that comparison, or something to think about to make that comparison easier, and why Hype and Sui aren't a like for like or apples to apples comparison, like Kris said, is I would consider think of Sui and Cetus more along the lines of like what Solana and Radium are to each other, and what ETH and Uniswap are to each other. And Hyperliquid is just different from that, right? It's not like that. So I would say that's the more better comparison. And like Kris was saying, Hype and Coinbase, is kind of a better comparison there as well. So just think of them. They're different, and they both have a lot of upside on them. So why not bet on both horses, right? So, yeah, well said, Kris. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us today. So, make sure that one, you enter the trade ideas competition, get some cool prizes, try and upgrade and take advantage of that 3 months free offer that we have. And also for our Real Vision members, we have another meetup coming up next week on June 18th in London. It's already filling up fast. We have over 100 people that have signed up and registered their attendance. So spots are filling up. We don't have that many more. So if you want to attend, make sure you go to realvision.com/meetups and register as well. And you can always check out our meetups calendar. Like Kris said, he's going to be in Vancouver as well for our Touch Grass event. Nice little picnic in the mountains, if you will. Yeah, we have a lot more of those coming. So stay tuned for that. Kris, it's been another fantastic episode with you. We'll be back again on Monday, just diving through the charts, and hopefully we have much greener candles to talk about as well.
Indeed.
So yeah, until then, guys, don't fuck this up. Stay patient and just be happy with where we're at right now. Times are looking good. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week.